Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to September's Global Health meeting. We've had a break over the summer. I hope you had a great time, and we're now back with a talk on the advanced features of DataWarrior, which Isabelle Giraud will be presenting. You will note now that she has now moved from Actelion to Idorsia, as have most of the staff from Actelion, but the package is the same. I know that many of you find DataWarrior an extremely useful free tool and a great contribution to drug discovery research. And I'm really pleased to welcome Isabelle back to talk this time particularly about the macro functions of DataWarrior. Over to you, Isabelle.
Good afternoon, everyone. So I'm Isabelle Giraud. I'm working with Thomas Sander, who is the developer of DataWarrior. DataWarrior is an open source tool. If you want to download it, you can go on openmolecules.org and simply give it a try. It's a very powerful data analysis tool with lots of nice visualization possibilities, and it's especially dedicated to the chemistry. Originally, my talk was just about macros, but then Mark pointed out the fact that DataWarrior has a lot of nice example files with very beautiful visualization, but maybe it's not so easy to reproduce them. And so my goal is now today to show you a bit how to do such visualization. So basically, I'm going to show you two example files in detail. One of them is the Health and Wealth 1950, and the other one is the World Fact Book. You will see that they feature animated views, and some of them, one of them, the World Fact Book, has also an image in the background, and it also has a very special marker, which is called the multi-value marker, which shows many properties at the same time. So I'm going to show you how to create similar visualizations from scratch. Then we will go to the part which is the macros part, and you all know Excel. So Excel has also the possibility to record your actions, and this is how you record a macro. DataWarrior can do the same. You can run an existing macro, but you can also create one by recording the task, the actions you are performing, or you can also define the task one by one in a special editor. And then I'm going to show you how to edit and how to save these macros. So now we are going directly into the subject, and we are going to open, or I'm going to open this file, the Health and Wealth 1950. This file is in the installation folder of DataWarrior, so it's on everybody's machine normally. So I'm going to switch to DataWarrior if it's not too much of a problem. Yes. So I launched DataWarrior, and now I'm going to go into this file menu, open example file, and select this Health and Wealth 1950 DWAR file. So it's a file which the dataset has been downloaded from gapminder.org, and you see that the data are nicely moving, and they are following the timeline. So you see that some countries, the countries are displayed here with the name of the countries. Each bubble represents a country, and on the y-axis you have the GDP, so the wealth of the country, and on the x-axis you have the life expectancy at birth. So of course the good place to be is right on the upper right corner, and you see over time how the countries are slightly moving towards this goal. So just to decipher a bit how this file has been constructed, the magic is here. So in this special filter, the category browser filter. If you disable the filter by just clicking here, you will all of a sudden see all the points. And now it's clear what happens if you enable the filter. It will actually look onto the column which is displayed, which is selected here, so the year. and go slowly through all the categories which are stored into this column. And I'm going to show you that on the table view, then it's clear. You see year is changing. You can also play a little bit with that and just change the region, select the region, sorry. And now you see why it's not so nice. If you click here, it's better, and maybe you can, on the contrary, focus on just one region and see what America is doing, what is Europe is doing, Sub-Saharan Africa, how is it evolving over time. So as I've said, all the trick is in this category browser, and there are some options that to know. It's quite simple actually. Go back to the DataWarrior thing. Here it's to disable the filter. Here it's to invert the filter, so show everything except the value that you see now here. And the most important thing is here. So you can stop the animation. So it's blocked on the year 1969. And if you want to go, you can scroll manually and see how it's evolving. And you can start the animation again, and especially you can change the speed of the animation. So you can make it very fast, so it's millisecond, or you can make it slower. Sorry. So if we want to do the same visualization, but from scratch, if you want to create such a file, and you don't know how to start, we will do that with an example. And first, we need a data set which contains a category column. So a column which contains only a small number of different values. Like we had, it was the time, the years, and it was just you have not an infinite number of values in it. It's just a small number of values. So for this exercise, we will use another data set of getminder.com. I hope it works like that. So you see that on this website, you can search for interesting data set. No, it's a bit blocked. Yes. And I will look for malaria data, of course. And here you can download the file. So we'll download this document. And to gain some time, I've already stored it somewhere here. Launch it. This is the content of the file. I'm sorry, how can I hide that? Yes. So first thing to notice is that we have not the same format as before. The year is now in column. So we will have to change this format. I'll go back to the presentation quickly. So that's how to get the data. What we need is to have a table like that with the country in column, the year, and the reported cases. So the number of cases of malaria reported per 10,000 people. So in this case, we need to do first a reverse pivoting. First, we will copy the content of these Excel files and paste it into DataWarrior, and then we will perform this reverse pivoting. Oops. So I select everything, make a copy, go into DataWarrior, and I will simply make a paste, but a paste with header row, because in my dataset I have already the header which is filled. So that's the result. As I said, we need to perform reverse pivoting manipulation. So first we go into File, New from Reverse Pivoting. And you see that by default, DataWarrior has already selected the columns, the right columns. It has seen that all these columns contain numbers and this one not. So this one is special, it is left out. So the name of the group is year. So we will have year into column. And this is the malaria cases per 1,000. So now we have, the format is right, it's correct. It's exactly what we need to have. But to make this thing a bit more interesting, I suggest that we attach, so we complete the data we have, so the malaria cases per year in the world, with the data we have in this health and wealth example file, so that we combine the health, the life expectancy with the malaria cases. So the reverse pivoting is already made, and what we are going to do is we are going to open the health and wealth file and save it locally. So this is already done, because for Mac OS user there is a small thing that it's stored into the package, and you have to extract it before this file. So again, so we have this malaria data. We are going to merge them. Merge file. So for me, it's on the desktop, and it's here. Now it suggests it has found out that in the file you want to attach to this side, there is a column which is named country, and in the file that you have here, there is also a column named country. So it suggests that maybe it's the merge key. So it's the one that you want to use to merge both files. Year is also assigned to year, but we need to have it as merge key too. So we change this, and the rest of the columns are going to be created on top of that. Now we have also this checkbox, append rows not existing in current data, that we will uncheck, because we are just interested into the malaria data and not the other data that are not, so the country that have no malaria cases at all. And already done. And if you scroll a bit, you see that some country have not been recognized because probably the name was not written in the same way. So normally for a proper job, we should have corrected that, but just for a demonstration purpose. So I leave it like that. So what we did is we combined the malaria data with the health and wealth file. Now we are going to create this new category browser to be able to scroll through the years. And to create a category browser, it's not so easy if you don't know. In fact, you have to go in on Edit, New Filter, and here it is. So you can uncheck and select it, and say you want to scroll per year. And now we create a new view where we want to display malaria cases with the life expectancy, or the contrary, life expectancy and malaria cases, to have it as I have on my slides. Maybe we want to put some colors. So to put some colors, you right click, change the marker color, and let's say we want to color by region. And now we can animate it like before. And it's the same mechanism. It's always scrolling through a category. No, sorry, I'm going backwards. This is the view when it's finished. If you take time to change all the the visual property of DataWarrior. I can show you that in a file which is already polished, let's say. So it's the same file, but I have put some transparency on the bubbles. I have assigned the size of the bubbles on the population size, and I have put a view here, the time view, where I simply display the year as the label. I think it's more visual like that. But it's just a matter of choice. Now we are going to see another nice example file, which is called World Factbook. And in this file, you see some special marker, the multi-value markers. And also you see that there is a picture as background. And it's quite a nice tool to present your data as this background picture. So the file is also located into example file, World Factbook. And here it is. So these markers, if you want to use such a marker, you have to right-click again and say that your marker will be a set multi-value marker. And here you can select which property you want to use when you are doing this kind of cake or pie representation. And just to simplify the thing, let's say we just select 2 and see the effect. No, it doesn't work. Yes. And now I'm going to show you a slide that explains how these multi-markers are constructed. So let's take a very simple example. We have 3 objects. So in our case, it would be 3 countries with 3 different properties. And these properties have not at all the same range of variation. One varies from 0 to 2, and the other is from 600 to 1000. And still they are represented with the same marker. So the logic to build such a marker is this one. The number of slides represents the number of selected columns, and the angle is always the same. It's 120 when there is 3 property represented. It would be half a pi if there would be only 2 properties. And then what the software does, it looks into the property values, takes the smallest one. So in this case, for the object one, for the property one, it's 0. So 0 will be mapped onto the smallest size of the marker. And then it takes the largest value of the property. So in this case, 2. And 2 is assigned the maximal value of the marker, the maximal area of the marker. And then it's just a linear function to map all the other values on the size of the markers. Also, you see that there is this background image can be set also by right-clicking on the image, on the view, sorry, and selecting set background image. So you can clear it if you, and you can replace it with another one. So for example, anything, picture of a mosquito. Oh, I've clicked on cancel. So in this way, it's completely meaningless, but it's just the principle. that's how it works. So the image is really stretched so that the corners of the image are allocated to the upper corner, to the mean and the max values of the data represented on the axis. Okay, and if you stretch the view, then the image gets stretched too. You can see that here. And if you scroll, the image moves with the markers. So we will use this background image to illustrate a real, maybe like a real case. Let's say that we have a lab which has tried to optimize a series of compounds. Sorry, there is some mistakes here. Week after week, and they want to have it to have this compound active on the 2 receptor, orexin 1 and 2. And then they want to visually explain their efforts and where it has brought them. So I have compiled a set of data taken from ChEMBL. So it's really a fake data set in the sense that I've assigned the weeks completely randomly, just to illustrate that. So you can use a background image in a very simple way, just as a beautiful background, just to make the view nicer and more beautiful. But you can also build a background that has a meaning. So in this case, for example, when the compound reaches the green area, it means that they have been really improved. So I can show you this file, which I have prepared. If I find it, so it's still. Okay, so that would be the goal, to obtain such a file where you see that week after week the compound go slowly into the right direction, so in the area where the compounds are active. You can do another view which has the same meaning. Actually, now you have performed an SIR before, and you only see the substituent moving towards the zone of better activity. So let's say you want to create one of these visualization by yourself. You have first, so we will open the starting point, so the bare data without any visualization. But we have a category browser, so this one is already something that we can set on week. And we could start the animation if we want. And already there, you see the points moving towards the bottom left corner. Now, if we want to put this new background, we simply open the file. So it's here. And it's an image taken from Wikipedia. If you want to remove the grid, this is an option which is hidden into the set graphical view options. Here you can hide the scales if you want to, but that's not what we want now. You can hide this the grid. You can make the size of the font smaller or bigger. And also you can change the default color of the marker. So this green, yellow marker can become, for example, blue. Okay. So, oops. Now, if you would like to create a background which has meaning, so which delineate a good area of activity, I can show you a trick how to do that. So first you have to copy this view to have the exact location of the axis. It's nicer to do this way. So you make a new copy view image, sorry, and you save this image as vector graphic. You have to say where you want to store it. I will overwrite this one. Okay. And now we have a file. Which should open into this software. Maybe you know this software, it's Inkscape. It's really a nice open source tool. And you, oops, sorry. Now what we want to do is to draw a background which is really located into this axis. So this is the important thing. It has to be in this axis. So I am doing a rectangle which goes from really nicely into the axis. I can color it just to see where it is. Okay. And now I can draw something on this background. So either I draw the area of choice. So let's say I want to have it like that. Or I could also simply say these compounds are the good one. It's not the case, but they are interesting for any reason. And then I'm going to export this image. Coming back to DataWarrior, I'm going to use this new background, which brings some new information to our data set. So again, I change the background. I select the one that I've now created. And that's it. So now, as before, I can zoom, do whatever I want, as long as I don't really change the axis, because then it has no meaning anymore, the allocation of the axis. Okay. Okay, macro, basically you record your action and then you run the macro. But the nice things to do is also to be able to edit them and also to export and to import them.
Isabelle,
I would say
before you start,
sorry,
before you start the next section, I have a question from Chase, who's typed it into the question box.
Yeah.
He says, I have the latest version of DataWarrior, but I don't seem to have the same databases that were listed in your example.
Really?
Any reason that could be?
Example files? It's the latest version?
Yeah.
Maybe you can give me the name of this person after all? Is it the only one? Or
he's the only one. Yeah.
The only one? So maybe there is a problem with the installation.
Well, we'll sort that out afterwards. But So if anybody else has any other questions, just type them in the box and I'll read them out. Okay?
Okay.
Right.
Then yes, I would say that macro is really useful when you perform always the same complicated task. So or simple tasks, but that you are always using, and it costs sometimes to define the dialogues and so on. So, for example, computing a set of chemical properties, that's a very common example. If you are always using molecular weight, C log P, C log S, and so on, it's maybe worth doing a macro that does that at once. Or you often analyze data that comes from the very same source. That's what happens at Idorsia. Our chemists, they download, they want to see the results of our results database. So they have a complicated macro which they use every morning, and they fetch all this data, analyze them, and it costs it lasts maybe 5 minutes, and then they have their analyze done when they come back from having a coffee, for example. Or you perform an analysis and you want to remember complicated settings, such as when you have created an SRR. And maybe you want to modify it a little bit. So if you have it in a macro, you have access to the task and you can modify the SR as you want. Or if you compute, if you use this at calculated value function where you can put some complicated formula, this will be editable in a macro. To start with, we will use this example file that I hope you have on your machine. So it's a file which contains a macro. Just show you that. It's again under File, Open Example File, and Macro with Activity Cliff. So if we launch this macro, it will last some time. So maybe I will not do it right now. But what I wanted to show you is that here under the macro, the menu point macro, you see the macro which is included into this file. If you go into another file, or like this one, you see that there is no, this line is missing. I have to find it again. No, this is the, okay. So there is a small explanation view which states what is going to happen. But if you want to look into detail what is this macro doing, you need an editor. For this, you just have to right click on any view. So it could be here, it could be here. Right click and select new macro editor. And then you see what is contained into this macro. And these are the tasks. So first task it's going to do is to close a view, to change the category filter, etc., etc. If you double click on the task, you see more precisely what it's going to do. So the first thing this macro is going to do is to close the view which is named explanation. And then it's going to change the category filter, which and exclude these caviar porcellus assay organism, etc. You see on the left side that you can also access the task individually, interactively. So let's say you want to stop the macro. There is a task which is called show message. Let's say we put this message here and say stop, it's going too fast. So when I'm going to run this macro, it will stop here, show the message. Then if I accept the message, it will continue. So let's say run macro. See, it has closed the explanation view. Now I cannot see it too bad. So the category browser have been updated. and now it's going to go further. But I will stop it because it's too long. Or maybe let's give it a try. So just as a reminder, sorry, to launch the macro, run macro, and then you select the macro which is located inside the file. To create a new, to visualize the data, the macro which is inside the file, you create a new macro editor. And oops, sorry, if then you have the task visible, and you can double click on the individual task to see more precisely what they are doing. And something that I haven't shown is that you can also delete the task. I'm going to try that. It's still computing, so I will stop it. Just to show, let's say you want to delete all these tasks. You select them, right click, and say I want to delete the selected task. And they are done. They are gone. So that's the summary. And this is something that I've also shown you, that you can drag and drop the individual task directly onto the window, but it's probably not the recommended method when you are starting with the macros, because it can lead to unexpected effects if you are not careful enough. Sorry, go a bit. So I'm jumping to this example, and we will go backwards. I'm sorry, I made a mess into my slides. So let's say you would like to download all the data from ChEMBL, having the substructure of these malaria compounds, artemisisn. You want to restrict the data to IC50 assay with nanomolar unit, extract the year of publication, and find out how many targets have been tested. So this is a task that is a bit complicated, especially extracting the, extracting the years. So I will show you that you can use macros, macros that are not included in a file, so a draw file, but that are standalone, so they have an extension DWAM file. So this is a macro that I have prepared and which does exactly that. It searches these artemisisn as a substructure in ChEMBL. And if I launch it, you will see what it does exactly. It searches the substructure, then it filters out all the values that are not of type IC50 and have not the unit nanomolar. Then it displays a view which split all the data according to the target name. So you have you see on one glance what target have been tested with these compounds. Compounds with an S because it's really the substructure that we have searched for. And also there is a second view which shows you the distribution of the publication in ChEMBL per year. So this is a quite complicated task. If you have performed such a task and you want to do exactly the same, but for another compound, maybe it's worth to just import the macro and modify it. So that's what we are going to do. We import the macro, which is an external macro. So let's test this one. And now we will open a macro editor to see what it does. So the first thing it's a message. So now we want to use another compound, which is this one. Okay, let me just type it maybe. Chloroquine, I think. No, chloroquine. And here is the task which searches into ChEMBL for this structure. So what I simply have to do is to replace this substructure by the chloroquine structure. If I find it, yeah, it's here. So I've simply copied that from Wikipedia, and I will copy the 2D structure from this file and plug it here. So double click to open the structure editor. I clear, paste the new structure. Maybe I will just simplify that. Okay. And of course, we have to rename the macro. With this menu, you can simply give it another name. So then we don't have to change everything else because the data will come in exactly the same format. So the rest should be compatible. So I will launch this macro now. Okay. So it worked fine. So it, oops. Sorry. So maybe you want to export it. It's not here, sorry, it's here. Macro, export macro. And with this, you can save it directly as one file, so macro file, onto your disk. And now we have it, and we could launch it directly here. So if you want, oops, yes. So if you, let's say we start with the simple structure. If you want to build such a macro, complicated macro, maybe the easiest way is to register what you are doing. So you copy the structure to be prepared because it's going to be useful. Then you go under macro and you say that you want to start recording your action. So we'll give it a name. And everything what we are doing is now recorded. You see that this is there is a red label here to warn you. And now we are going to retrieve the ChEMBL data. Double click to open the structure editor. And since we have copied the structure, it's easy to just paste it. Okay. And from now on, we can really filter. So where's the, we have to create some filter before. So new category filter. Then you see all the different tests which have been performed. Right-clicking into the right-clicking into the filter allow to deselect everything, and then you can select IC50, and you can delete the rows that are now hidden, so the invisible rows. We can continue cleaning the file by doing a new category filter on the unit. And we keep only nanomolar. Again, we delete the invisible rows, etc., etc. We create a new 2D view. Want to use the value. Okay, we see that there is a problem here. One of the value has been given a huge value, which make a little bit of a problem to display to build the scatter plot. So we will again filter some value out. This one up, or maybe we say 20,000 is maximal, and again delete. And now we can, well, we cannot. No. Okay. It's a bit boring to follow all these steps. That's why macros are so useful. So we are going to stop recording and see what we have done. New macro editor, and oh, surprise, it's completely empty. Because in fact, we have launched the macro from this window, and this is the owner of the macro, because it has started here. So if we create the new the editor here, you see all the steps we have performed. Searching the databases, selecting the window, creating a filter, etc., etc., deleting the invisible rows, and setting the logarithmic column modes. And once we have that, we can again export the macro as we have done before, or we can also save the file, and then now the macro is saved with the file, and if I close it and reopen it, it will be there. Okay, maybe I was a bit fast once again. So that's the end of the presentation. Of course, if you have questions, I'm more than happy to answer, but as always, remember that I'm not a chemist.
Thank you very much, Isabelle. If anybody has any questions, go ahead and you can either ask them yourselves or put them in the. If you type them in the question box and I'll unmute you, then you can ask them yourselves. So that was fabulous, Isabelle. I didn't know that DataWarrior did half those things. I shall use it forever to do the pivoting, reverse pivoting, because that's so much easier than using Excel.
Yeah, that's a really powerful. Very powerful function. It's a bit hard to master at the beginning. A lot of people have difficulties at the beginning. I mean, once you practice a bit, it's very easy. I mean, I think so.
But it still looks easier than the Excel one, which I have tried to master several times and failed.
Yeah. There's also the contrary function, which is a pivoting, which on the contrary, yeah, put all the data into columns, which is also very nice to make correlation of data. Yeah, but maybe that's another topic. Just this.
So I'm sure one question that will come up is that you mentioned Inkscape.
Yeah.
Is there a PC equivalent of that?
Yeah, it's also downloadable on PC. There is a Mac version. There is a Windows window version.
So it runs on both. Yeah.
It's a very nice tool. It's the equivalent of Adobe Illustrator, but yeah, open source.
It's free. Yes.
Free. And it's maybe simpler.
So that's fabulous, Isabelle. It's Mark here. I have a question for you. As Caroline said, I didn't know half the things that DataWarrior could do until I started looking at some of the examples, which and it's brilliant that you've shown us how to do some of those things. It's going to up the game on what our explanation of our SAR is, I think. One thing I find myself wanting to do fairly often is plot a line on a graph. So I know that it's possible to plot a fitted line if looking at a correlation, and I can also see the R value and display that on the graph as well, which is brilliant. Sometimes I find myself wanting to plot a line of unity, you know, just the one-to-one correlation, just to sort of show really how much the points are above or below the line, perhaps. Am I right in thinking from what you've shown that is best done by importing a background graphic, or is there a way of getting DataWarrior to show a line?
I think it's the only way for the moment to do that.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, in an easy way. Otherwise, you have to put some fake data, and it's much more complicated. But,
yes, I suppose. Yes, I can see. I could add a couple of points, couldn't I? And then get the points connected by a line. But yeah, okay.
But it's really
graphic. Yeah.
It's not so nice. I mean, it's a workaround.
Yeah.
The background thing is also a workaround, but it's much more flexible. You can really add some area, so
yes,
you know, shadow around the lines.
And also on a similar kind of theme, sometimes it would be nice to show the axis, maybe on the X or the Y axis, to make it go slightly further than the data range does. So if, you know, the X axis is
so further, yeah, it's possible. You have to change the data range. Maybe I can show you. I don't know if you see my.
Yep.
Yep, I can see it.
Is okay? I have to. I have to find just. Okay, make a new one. Okay, for example, here it goes from 1990 to 2015. If I change the value range and put 2020, for example, then it will give a bit more space.
Marvelous.
So
I didn't know I could do that. That's lovely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's one way. And if you want to zoom, you can either use the middle mouse button, if you have one, or the 2 fingers on the Mac, or you can use the scroll bar, of course.
That's great. That actually, in combination with an image which just has a line from the bottom left corner to the top right corner, I think gives me a very flexible way of having a X equals Y line, because then I can always fix the X-axis and Y-axis to start at the same point and end at the same point, and then I'll only ever need one image. So that's brilliant. Fabulous. Thank you. I will definitely use that.
And give it a try to Inkscape, because it's really perfect tool for doing this kind of thing.
Yeah, really that looked really nice.
Mark, Isabelle also had a reference to your previous presentation. Did you want to just say a couple of words about that?
Yeah, sure. So that was a presentation looking at R group analysis, where basically the idea is that along the X-axis you can display let's say R1, and on the y-axis, sometimes it's enough to display one other R group because your molecule is relatively simple with a fixed core and 2 R groups. But sometimes life is more complicated than that, and you've got multiple cores, and you've got an R2 and an R3. And then, of course, it's hard to know what to display on the y-axis, and sometimes I find myself wanting to display essentially everything else that isn't R1, so that I know that if my points sit on a line, then everything else apart from the R group is the same. And that's what that PDF and the talk is about. Just using macros to set that up.
But now you could do an animation and divide them up into sets and just display them, one after another.
All sorts of beautiful possibilities are presenting themselves to me. I shall be spending hours fiddling about making pretty SAR analysis.
I think, Isabelle, you may well revolutionise SAR presentation.
The SAR can also be included into your file as a macro, as Mark said. And I think it's really convenient when you want to make some changes, I don't know if I have an example here, but sometimes you prepare an SRA and then you think, oh, now I have the scaffold is too restrictive, I want to change it a bit. And you have to start all over from the beginning. And if it is located in a macro, then you can just apply this small change and let it run again. So it's a very flexible way of working.
So is there actually an argument for just turning the macro editor on when you're doing something and letting it track what you've done?
You mean? I'm sorry. The question is,
if you just if you start recording.
Oh yes, yeah, you can. Yeah, it's quite very nice too. Yeah, you can do it. So you make a new macro anything. So now the macro is here. It's empty for the moment. And if you change things, you see what is happening. So now I've changed the filter. It happens here. Selecting everything, editors. See, it's in real time. It records what you are doing. But if you want to change something, then you have to stop. Then you can change.
It's actually quite a nice way of tracking what you've done, what sort of analysis you've done.
Yeah, sure. And something that I have problems with my my trackpad, but you can continue recording. So you go again macro and continue recording. Or sometimes this is not allowed or enabled, but you can always say I start recording and I want to extend this macro.
Oh, okay. Yep. That's even better.
It's continuing. So that's what I'm usually doing because sometimes you want to try a bit and then record just after.
What are yours and Thomas's plans for DataWarrior going forward?
For the moment, yes, he really wants to keep the track of publishing all the new stuff on open molecules. Maybe it's a bit delayed, but with the current version that we have at Idorsia. But on the other hand, then it's better tested. That's the advantage.
So what sort of new features do you think will come out?
I can only tell you what is already existing in the actual version, in the present version at Idorsia. We have where is that? Yeah, here we have some a new point concerning the reactions, to search reactions, to the many different tools for the reactions. This is now coming. To be fair, I should look into What is different? Yes, there is a possibility. No, that's not for. There is the possibility to split the cells, but this is only for data coming from our database. So that's not for the open source version.
So at the moment, there's no way of connecting DataWarrior to a database, is there? This version of DataWarrior?
Not that I know of, but I know that a lot of people are asking that. There is a, you know, that there is a way to connect to an URL. So that's what, when you launch this macro, run macro retrieve malaria data, that is exactly what it is doing. It goes to a document which is a Google document. And so the Google document can be updated. And DataWarrior fetches the new data every time you run the macro. And just to show you what it does, I will import this macro. No, what did I do? Import macro. Why is that? So it's a task which retrieve the data from web address, a URL, and in this case it contains a Google Doc. And maybe it's your document. I don't know.
I don't think so.
So I will just, you know, if you. So that's the source of the document. So with this task, you import the content of this document in DataWarrior, and of course you can change it here, and it will be directly updated each time that you run this macro. So it's a way to share the data, but it's not a real database for the moment. I don't know if there is. I know that that's the intention. We would like to provide an API for, a connection to databases, but it's not done.
Okay. Does anybody in the rest of the audience have any questions? No? If not, I think since we've gone past the hour, I think we'll stop there. Thank you very much, Isabelle. I think you may just have changed the way that we use DataWarrior profoundly there. I think we should all go away and practice.
Yes, a lot of practice.
It's lovely to speak to you. Thank you very much.
Thank you too.